As a next step, I like to wait the current video to finish. So for this, I need these two values of these times. So what I should do, I should basically read constantly the current time because this one is changing constantly and make a comparison with the total time. So I'll do that until this value will be different from this one. So are you thinking to a way to resolve this? Now we are definitely entering in a loop, so we do have a few options. We could resolve this using a for each or do while or while do, but can you guess what would be the best match? Well, I'm giving you 2 seconds. So the best way to solve this is by using a do while, and let me show you why. So I'm gonna go and do while. And the reason is because I would like to read constantly and the first time. So I would like to read the current time before to make this comparison. Now, before to do that, let's have a look to our variables because they have a strange name. They have span1 and span2. So these names are generated by the UiPath recording, but let's do a rename. So get total time has the output in the span1. So I'm gonna go to rename the span1 and say something like total time. I'm gonna change the variable type from generic value to string because we know that these are text, and change the span the current time and change the variable string also. Collapse this variable and let's write this condition together. So do, I'm gonna read the current time, and here the condition, it says the body execute as long as this condition is true. So the way it's true is that this current value, it's different from the total value. So let's start to write that. Current time, it's different from the total time. And then I'm gonna click on the repair. So hit save, and let's try to run this robot. And it's opening a YouTube browser, so I need to close the first one. Okay, so now I see a behavior that I need to click on this button. Now this one is a side effect when you open a YouTube Chrome, when you open a clip from a link. So I definitely need to add some code here. For this part, I like to skip it, and I like to skip this commercial also, because we're just focusing on this part. We're gonna tackle these situations after. So this one has 3 hours. I'm not gonna wait 3 hours. I'm gonna simulate by going here at the end. And it seems that the robot doesn't work. So let's try to investigate. Open UiPath Explorer, stop. Well, I'm just gonna give a try again. Maybe it was related to the behavior that we had from this commercial. Okay, we will open a YouTube clip. Go at the end. So it seems that it was related to those commercials that did appear at the beginning. As you can see, the replay has been clicked by the robot and this video of 3 hours has been reloaded. I think I should be replacing this with something which is way smaller. So I'm gonna go and take a normal video clip which has 3 minutes, copy, close this, and replace the link, and delete, hit paste, close the any browser, and hit run. Okay, we do have an error. Okay, I need to click this manually. And if I go here at the end, we do have this commercial. And the replay has been clicked because the execution of the robot finished successfully, and you can see it here in 19 seconds. Great, so the first part, which is waiting the total duration of the video, it's done. Now let's go to the next one. The next part is to skip the commercial. So I'm going to create a component which will deal that, but I would like to write it down that we have seen a behavior when we open a clip from that link, a play button in the middle, it appears. So we need to create a component or something, an action that the robot should perform that click. I'm going to do that in a later video. Also, I like to point it out that this comparison which we are doing here, and let's show you here, we are comparing the current time and the total time as a string. Now these variables are string. I don't recommend to write this in production code, despite it will work fully in production in this case. Now every time when you're comparing times, which are numbers, duration, as a string, it's a bad approach. And I'm going to show you in a separate video how you can write this as a production ready code. Well, with this established, let's go and create the component. I'm going to go and add a new sequence. I will go with sequence in this case, but you can go with the flowchart also. So let's say skip commercial and hit enter. First of all, here we can use the recording web, but there is just one element which we need to click. It's the skip button. And the flow would be that I need to attach to a browser in order to have a parent window like we have here, or I can go directly and create a full selector by drag and drop a click activity. Now I would prefer to use the recording. So I'm going to click recording web, make the Chrome visible, and try to reproduce the commercial. Hit refresh, and here we have. I'm going to hit click. I will click on the skip ad button and confirm it's saved, because this is all the operation we need to do it here. So let's have a look to the generated selector. I'm going to go and edit selector. And if you're paying attention, the value of the ID attribute, it has that add text, so it's definitely something which we like. But this 7, it looks like a random, or for me, it looks randomly. So my intuition is telling me that I need to use another attribute. So I'm going to do that. Well, I notice here a bug, or actually a feature. So I'm going to replace the title with a wildcard, because I would like to attach to any browser, any Chrome browser open. And I'm going to replace with star. If you do this change, pay attention that the attached browser, it will take the first YouTube link that you will have it open using Chrome. And be careful to have only once. In this case, I do have only one. So collapse this output. And let's try to create a better selector. I'm going to go and open UiPath Explorer, make this window visible, the Chrome, and try to reproduce again the commercial. Well, I'll try to reset again the browser history, clear data, and I'm just gonna have a YouTube on the clipboard, paste, and hit next. No thanks. I definitely agree. So this is the commercial. I'm gonna go validate element and click on the skip ad button. So let's analyze the attributes. The ID is add text 7, but we can use the skip ad, or we can use the class. Now, if you're just having a look to the value of the class, we do have add text, YouTube ad button. So this value, it seems that it's related to the add skip button. So I would consider it as valid. I'm gonna disable the ID, and I see that I have just one single element here. So do I need to select something else? Well, let's have a look. Parent class and parent ID, skip button 6. And as you can see, the skip button, this one is 6, this one is 7. So it seems my intuition was true. So I'm gonna go and hit save. Now I need to highlight. And this selector, it seems that is robust enough. For me, it seems to be robust. So the next step is to make this click only when this element appears. Now here, when I don't have the commercial, if I go and edit selector, of course, it will not be valid. So what I need to do, I need to find this element and only click when this element exists. Well, I can do in two ways. For instance, if I'm just going on the click, this activity is selected, and I will set the continue on error true. Now this would make possible to click on this element when exists and when doesn't exist, and this could solve a problem. However, I'm not comfortable with this solution because I would like to be explicit to make this check. And the reason I'm going with this approach is because as part of the nominal case, this click can exist or cannot exist. So by defining what's normal, it's normal to have a look to a clip which doesn't have a commercial or it has a commercial. So because of that, I'm going to do something with find element. So I'm going to use the find element activity. And in the selector of the find element, I will get this selector as a target, Control A, Control X, because I want to cut, go in the find element, paste in the selector. So what we have done, we have moved the selector from the click to the find element. Here I'm going to rename find skip button element. And the result will be in a variable. So I'm going to say skip button UI element. Now, can you guess what's the variable type of this element? Well, it's of type UI element because the selector, it's a path, and the found element, it's actual reference of that particular element. So we're going to find the skip element, and we will click only when that element exists. So I need to put an if here. If skip button is not nothing, I will put this click. Now I need to rename this click skip button. And to the element itself, I need to pass that reference because I have moved this selector to find. So I need to pass the actual reference. So I'm going to say skip button UI element. And I need to tell you something related to the find skip button activity. Now, if that element doesn't exist, this activity throws an error. So I would like to suppress that error message because I'm going to consider this in this if. So what I need to do, I'm going to check here, continue on error true, and I like to set something else. Now, if you're just paying attention to the click, this one has wait for ready, complete, where I like to set it as complete also. And the timeout, I like to wait for 2 seconds. There are 2000 milliseconds to find that particular element. Now, if in 2 seconds they are not found, this value, it will be null. If it is, then I'm going to click it using this reference. So I hope this one is clear. Great. For me, it seems to be like a complete workflow. So let's start to test it. I'm going to try to run when I don't have the commercial, I don't have that button visible, and I would expect to have the execution ended after 2 seconds, which is exactly what's happening. And if I go at the end and try to simulate a commercial, which I do have here in this case, try to run. Okay, I'm just trying to make the skip add button visible. So it seems that the component works and I was able to test it correctly. So let's go to the next step.